Yeah.
You guys start. Biggest local political story from. And welcome to the end of the year Opinion Fest. This is Cable 14's program where we review the best and the worst that happened in 2012. We've brought together the panels of the O Show and the Opinionators, and they're going to share their opinions with you. So let's get started. And we're going to begin with the O Show panelists, Loren Lieberman and Laura Babcock. Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to see you both.
Howdy, Larry.
And of course, we also have the Opinionators, Alex Johnstone, Ron Corsini, and Tara Crugnata. And we have the cheering section as well. So this is going to be a little bit of a competition. But panel, we are going to talk about the best and the worst that have occurred in 2012. And we're going to begin this one with you, Alex, and then we're going to give everybody a chance to chime in. And I want you to tell us and our viewers the best local politician that distinguished him or herself in 2012. Who would it be?
Well, Larry, I'd have to say David Christopherson, who, of course, became deputy leader in 2012. And I think he's done a phenomenal job. Certainly, he's gained more promotion, I think, than any other local leader. And he's done an amazing job.
All right. Well, let's swing right over to you, Ron, Loren, because, of course, you are.
Ron Burgundy?
You are known as a big-time Tory, and you've just heard that. Who would you choose?
I don't agree. I'm going to suggest that there'd be several candidates from council locally, but I'm going to give it to Lloyd Ferguson for his consistently being the voice of reason and business on council. I don't think that I can suggest any one thing. It's about a consistent, even performance.
All right. So David Christopherson federally and Lloyd Ferguson on local council. Ron, who would you say?
For me, Bob Bertina. I know that he seems unorthodox in a lot of things that he does, but he loves this city and he breathes this city. And I think for him, I think I would give it to him.
How does that make you the best politician, though?
Yeah.
Well, because you know what? Because
he doesn't love the city.
That's as valid as Christopherson.
But he would do anything for this town.
Well, and I would hope that everyone that seeks
and I'm
higher
sure that they
office
do,
wants
but you
to
know
do the
what?
best
But
for,
Ron, you have to.
city.
I'm not
For
saying
me-
he doesn't get it, but you have to give something more than that he loves the city. Come on, he's the
You
mayor.
know what?
Listen,
He's a hard worker. I mean, I could throw out all these actions
give me
describing
something.
him.
Give me
but,
something.
I think Bob Bertina epitomizes Hamilton.
Right.
Well, there you go, Mr. Hamilton.
Okay. Let's not make a comment on that, Laura. Who would you choose?
We argue, Larry. It's what we
Yeah.
do. Locally, I think on council, Brad Clark lately has distinguished himself on really having some good information on some key issues. But I have to say, overall, Andrea Horvath. I mean, the way she has performed at the provincial level, remember that when she played chicken with the Premier and with Hudak, she's managed to make a minority position one of real power. And that's impressive.
She's also recently said that she'll work with whoever the leader of the party is.
But in typical,
The only way that she's going to have any power is if she works with the person.
But the point is, though, even the dig she took, which she said, if I could get a deal with Dalton and with the finance minister, I can work with anybody. She went to Queen's Park, and she went there with a serious attitude, and she's done a great job.
Okay, fair enough. Tara, you get the chance now.
Well, you know, since we're doing the NDP Love Fest, I am going to stick with Sam Marula. In the city. We are very far apart when it comes to ideology, but somehow we're both on the same page when it comes to anything from the casino or to selling naming rights or just about anything that he does. I tend to agree with. Pan Am especially. I really didn't think that we needed to have, many things to do with Pan Am and Hamilton. I thought it was a waste of money, and so did Sam. So we're on the same page.
Hey, I gave you Brad Clark. It hasn't been all NDP.
Well, and there you go. But Sam has been consistent, and that's good. Well, Tara, we're going to come right back to you, though. You're on a roll. And what I want the panels to focus on now is either the worst political performance of the year or the politician who, rather than distinguishing himself, has perhaps shown a negative side. Who would you say?
You know, I would have to say the worst political performance belongs to all of the councillors that voted against the Linwood Charlton Centre, because you cannot. I understand what they were saying. I understand that there are issues to do with boundaries and divisions when it comes to these care facilities, but you don't pick on 8 girls. It was the wrong way to go about it. And I know, now I'll mention Sam again, he said, well, if it was 8 pedophiles, then you'd be complaining about that, but it's 8 girls. Well, you know what? Yeah, that comparison was really not fair. And if it was 8 pedophiles, absolutely we'd all be up in arms. But it's 8 girls that need our help. So it was totally the wrong way to go.
Right,
Tara, your Christmas present is an SOS shirt.
Well, there you go. So that was a group diss, and she also contradicted herself about Councillor Marula, but that's beside the point. What would you say?
Are you moderating, Larry?
I am. What would you say?
In terms of the biggest disappointment performance, I would have to say, and I know Ron is going to disagree with me, even though I thought Mayor Bertina had a better year this year than last, because there wasn't scandal.
Peggygate.
Yeah, there's no Peggygate. There wasn't a lot. I still think that he hasn't yet found a way to distinguish himself as a leader as mayor, and whatever that looks like. He's kept his nose clean this year, and I think that council's doing very well. But I'm disappointed because I thought that Bob would bring more to the table. Maybe it's going to come out in his second half of his year, of his term. We'll see.
Okay. Lauren, what would you say?
I'm sure they're all lovely people, but
You know them all. Can you
truly,
really say that?
yeah, I do. Truly, based on sheer irrelevance, I give the worst political performance of the year to the Hamilton Federal NDP MPs. Because as much as that's great that David became the deputy leader, what have they done for Hamilton?
Well, we're going to ask that question to our NDP friend here. And Alex, who would you say did not distinguish him or herself in 2012?
Well, I'll rebuttal in a minute, but I'll have to say that it definitely was Tim Hudak. And, here's somebody... Of course you do.
No,
but here's somebody who, again and again is given, all the dice, and he just throws it away. Here's somebody who should be scoring in the high 40s right now in terms of public opinion polls, and he's not. Although he is.
Look at how is our party polling? Our party
although
is
you're in first
high.
place, it's
first
not,
place is good enough for me, Alex.
It's not. You guys should be doing a lot better right now. And
you have to admit he's smart to put LCBO in the Christmas holiday discussion. At least he's staying relevant. Right?
Well, he keeps coming out with just really cheesy, position pieces.
Yeah, sure, but he keeps
There's
us
so
talking.
much better issues that he could be talking about right now.
What the issues that the NDP find important and are trying to do themselves.
Well,
so
that's the issues that the public are talking about, Tara.
Ontario families are talking about around the kitchen table.
LCBO is not the number one issue of Ontario.
No, it's not.
All right, we're going to move on. We're going to move on a little bit.
No, we didn't.
And it's Ron's turn.
I agree with you wholeheartedly about Tim Hudak. I think he's just spouting from the mouth and just seeing whatever hits the fan and whatever sticks to it.
This is just very typical of our program.
No, it is not, because
it takes two of them
but
to
I
gang
think
up
that
on me.
some of this stuff he's just saying without even looking into it and looking at the numbers, like the privatization of the LCBO.
It's been looked at in a number of governments.
Even Hudak said he doesn't know if he's going to make money on that, Tara, but it's a good topical way to stay relevant during a Liberal leadership race, right?
That's about him trying to.
At least he's trying to talk about alcohol.
He's the fact that the Liberals are getting so much airtime.
That are interested to the public.
Right.
Well,
all right.
Since the Liberal race is so boring.
So both of them have
Hardly.
selected
It's not what
Tim
Ontario
Hudak.
Instinct.
Did you have a go?
Yeah.
You
You forgot already.
No, I didn't forget. It was very memorable. But we're going to move on. We're going to move on.
Cheers.
Listen, the city of Hamilton, I think everybody will agree, had a good year.
Yes.
As a city, we had a very good year. But there has got to be a story that perhaps stands out. Loren, let's begin with you. What was the best of the best?
Yeah, I hope I can actually make my point on this. I think the biggest local political achievement was that Hamilton was able to have its Kool-Aid spread out coast to coast in this country. And the kind of stuff we've been hearing about how we're a new city, other cities are saying it. And I'm not saying it's true or not true, but I think it's a hell of an achievement. The art is the new steel is being talked about all over the country, and that's valid or not, it was an achievement to have that word spread far.
Yeah, you just go ahead and say it. We argue about it every single week. Hamilton is a new city now. We're not on a cusp. It's not the cusp of a renaissance anymore. We've actually, I think the tipping point has happened. We saw it with that grid article in a Toronto Culture paper saying this is the cool place to live, although we knew that. We're seeing it with economic development.
Toronto Star last weekend did it.
And record-setting achievements in terms of our tax base around our industrial. There's so much going on. So the biggest achievement, I will kind of extrapolate from that, Larry, is the functionality of our council. Now, you can argue it's in spite of the mayor's leadership or because of the mayor's leadership, but regardless, when you think about, scandals and screw-ups and problems, our council has just been working hard. And it's wonderful to see.
Here.
I'm not sure what made them gel, but you know what? You can tell, and thank God. Because if the city really is doing as well as it is in all these other areas that council's maybe not responsible for, they're at least not wrecking that momentum.
So, Laura, what I hear is that working hard makes you a good politician, just like Ron said.
Of course it does.
No, working hard and having effect come from that. And you have to prove the cause and effect with Bob Bertina with me. This is what I'm saying, is that maybe council's doing so well because his style of leadership
you're
lets
right.
them,
I agree
or
with
maybe
you.
it's in spite of him not leading from the front.
Yeah,
I mean, that's an
I
argument,
agree with
right?
you about council and how well they're working so well together. But for me, it's getting Mac coming downtown, all those jobs that are going to come with it, and also a lot of those people may want to choose to live in the core, and this is what we need. We need more people living in the core, and there's new condominium towers going up. You look at, and another thing for me also is James Street North. I mean, look at the revitalization. I grew up on that street, and I never saw
Loren
that many
started
people.
that 10 years ago.
But I'm agreeing with him. I never saw that many people out there. Even Prince Edward was there for the art crawl this year. So it's a great thing for Hamilton.
Ron, the city might have different ideas about downtown. You know, you're saying that you want it to be more residential, but I think they're going to put a casino there, unfortunately.
Oh, God forbid.
I would say that our greatest achievement in the city was finally offloading HECFI. That was just fantastic.
Yeah, that was
superb
good.
job, City Council.
All right, very good. And Alex?
I would have to agree with Ron. I do think that it's a health center. I think that that's a place that's going to be bringing hundreds of new jobs, which the city desperately needs. And I think that it's good for the local economy.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, so let's now look at the other side of the coin, because as well as all good kinds of good things happening, and I think they were in the majority, and you've hit on many of them, there had to be some disappointments as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So if there was, Laura, let's start with you. Which would you say is the biggest disappointment
I have
of
a top
2012?
I have a top three on this one.
All right.
My top three quick ones are the kind of debacle with the school board situation, the horrible treatment of the girls at Linwood Charlton, which has gotten us national negative headlines, and it's only ramping up. It's not even being heard until the spring. That's really regrettable. And the fact that we gave funding to a convicted criminal is, we all remember this from our Opinion Fest in the summer. The city gave a grant to somebody who's got a criminal record in our city, and they said it was a lack of knowledge or a lack of protocol around that. I think that's a disgrace, and I don't want us to forget about it.
Okay, let's come to you, Tara.
Laura, I totally agree with you on every front there. I mean, giving that money to Dennis Vranich was obscene, and we went through it a lot at that time. Linwood as well. Let's not forget the Tiger Cats and the new stadium that really isn't a new stadium. We spent all this money on the Hamilton Future Fund. Thank goodness I wasn't there at the time when we had to give that money for this new stadium. What really is it? It's a pig in lipstick, really.
All right, and Ron?
Yeah, for me, the Tiger Cats and the whole stadium debacle. I mean, we went right around the corner with this, from starting off at the Harbor and the Tiger Cats saying we'll never play at Iverwin Stadium, and look where they are now.
And Alex?
I think there's been a series of disappointments. Certainly not a lot of action on the LRT. I think, the loss of the Velodrome, the mayor in general, I think that he has been a disappointment. I think that he should be showing a lot more leadership, and I think Hamiltonians should get a lot more out of his office.
All right, and last word on this to you, Laura.
A close runner-up for our school board trustees. I found them to have a very disappointing year, but I think I'm going to give it to what truly disappoints me is that I think we took a big step backwards this year in the us versus them, the urbanites versus suburbanites, and the whole post-amalgamation. We're not moving that forward. I think it's getting worse.
We're voting along those lines again.
Okay, and this one, Ron, we're going to begin with you. And of all the stories, and actually you've hit on a number of them, but which one would you say was the biggest local political story of 2012?
Well, for me, and maybe it started in 2011, was the whole city of Hamilton is probably represented by the opposition, and I think Hamilton is missing out a lot. Loren touched on this a little while ago. We have a lot of NDP members, both federally and provincially, and I think we are missing out on a lot of cash that's being distributed.
No
right across
port for
Canada.
Hamilton unless
Sorry.
we're.
And the only one other is,
notable.
is Ted McMeekin. But I mean, for the,
and he's
the
doing
city
all
of
kinds of
Hamilton,
stuff in the
it's,
area.
well, it's difficult.
Well, exactly, and I think that it's a little bold to say that all these NDP officials are not doing anything for our city. It's pretty hard when the Liberals prorogued to get work done. So I will pass the buck back on to you.
Usually they work right up till Christmas.
But I think that
I think
that it's important to
Which
note.
would you say, Alex?
Sorry.
Which would you say then?
Well, I think that overall the disappointments, I kind of listed them before I skipped into them. But I think that I'm disappointed overall with the Liberals, in terms of just letting Ontarians down, letting Hamiltonians down.
Yeah,
okay.
No, the prorogation, I think, was a huge disappointment for process point of view. I'm not partisan. But I hate to see an ineffective legislature that we have elected. And if it had been shut down for a legitimate reason, meaning better contract negotiations with the teachers, which was clearly false, it looks, any respect I had for Dalton McGuinty, I lost in that process. And the frustration of all the, look what's happening around the cuts to the community programs for people who are in poverty and those discretionary benefits. All those austerity measures from the Liberal government, they made them and then they ran and hid. And now you've got all kinds of people in our community who are waiting to find out if they're even going to get their startup benefit that's canceled as of January 1st. City Council had to come up with millions to cover off the discretionary benefits, the eyeglasses and the baby cribs and funerals, not discretionary in other words, and where the Liberals to be held to account. This prorogation, I think, is absolutely shameful. So I know we're talking about biggest story, and I'll get to that when you ask me, but on the disappointment, I forgot about that. Alex, I'm with you 100%. Forget about it being Liberal or Conservative or NDP. It's taking our democratic process and taking it for partisan reasons, I think, is horrible.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you about the biggest story then.
You know what? Nationally in scope, it's going to be Linwood-Charlton because of the human rights violations, and we'll hear more about that. In terms of dominating our show much more than we thought, it was the school boards and the mishandling of all of that with the assessment of the schools, which ones would close. I mean, that really was a bigger story than it had to be. But I think the single biggest story of the year for Hamilton has to be Hamilton. Has to be the fact that we're the new city of Hamilton. Where that came from in the last few months, but it's just, as Loren said, it's coalesced nationally. And it's such, for people like myself who are out of town almost every day, to see the narrative change after 15 years of beating our heads against the wall is, I think, huge. And we'll remember this year for that.
Loren.
2012, for me, locally, was the year of poverty. And I think it's really interesting that we champion ourselves and pat ourselves on the back for all our successes, while at the same time putting poverty as our central issue. From a political front, though, I think the most important story, based on it has opened doors for potentials, is Council's very courageous decision to privatize HECFI, and that there's a whole lot more should that decision over the course of the next few years prove to be the right one, which I certainly am hoping that it will be. That an awful lot more could be privatized, and we could be saving taxpayers money in all kinds of new directions.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought poverty.
I'm gonna jump back to provincial then, because I do think that the biggest story, and it really does affect Hamilton, as we've just already discussed around the table, was prorogation. I don't think any of us saw that one coming. We thought that Dalton had been around for, 16 years as leader, so many years as premier, and he's been through a lot, and we thought that he could take the punches a little bit better than he could, and we saw so many scandals come out of the last 2 years of this Liberal government. It has been ridiculous.
But I think,
and they still elected him.
The other parties, the opposition parties, wanted to work together with the Liberal government, and they didn't. They were not working together. Nothing was getting done.
Ron, you're off by
McGuinty did not have any other choice but to prolong.
Because he needed to
I think he did the right thing.
Ron,
look at
how
now.
did he do that? Oh my God, he didn't want to answer on gas plans. He didn't want it on orange. Nothing.
Listen, we've got a few minutes, so I'm going to give everybody a chance to talk about this, because it seems as if the prorogation is emerging as an issue.
So
Ron, have you finished, and then we'll go to Alex.
Yeah, I just think that McGuinty had no other choice, and he did the right thing for the province.
Spoken like a true liberal.
No, Ron.
Well, how many days are they not going to be there? It's like 4 or 5 extra days that they're actually not sitting.
It's
democracy. It's only a couple of days.
And why couldn't he just
what about all the
completely
people
step
who
down?
need answers, who are waiting on things like
You
the
will get
board that
the
we just
answers
talked
in due
about?
time.
Yeah, but when
Due
you
time.
can't, when you can't even remember, Hamilton Council took the courageous step of saying these discretionary benefits being cut are going to hurt our poor in a way that we cannot. It's not unconscionable. And they planned on going to Queen's Park to have a Hamilton Day to lobby the province. And guess what? They shut the doors of Queen's Park and said, because we're escaping Vaporgate and because we're hiding from Orange and because we can't get this teachers deal done, we're going to go run and hide. And they shut down democracy.
I don't look at it that
Well,
way.
because you're a partisan liberal. But you know what? You can't defend the individual.
Hold it. Let's give everybody a chance to speak. Alex, you wanted to jump in.
So I think that when Ron is saying that neither of the opposition parties were helping, I absolutely disagree. You had Andrea working with Liberals every time a left-leaning issue came up, and the Tories working with the Liberals every time a right-leaning issue came up.
I mean,
you go back to the record.
Until you just slumped right over.
You got your budget. There was a lot of sacrifices made by both the opposition parties. You got your budget, and I think that. I think that you could have done more. Not ask what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
I was going to come up. Good one. Listen, let's flip over to the side, because I think, Loren, you want to explain why the Conservatives federally prorogued 3 times and got away with it. Go ahead.
Okay, well, maybe
were
a year and a
reasons
half
for that.
ago. No,
They
people have
didn't
been
get away with it. People got
proroguing
upset.
the various legislatures since the beginning of time.
Absolutely.
It's a word we learned about a year and a half ago, and everybody was outraged that Harper did it. I don't agree with Ron's reasoning, but I do agree that the strategy that the Liberals provincially has made complete sense. The Conservatives and the NDP could have brought down that government, but they don't have enough money to run a next election. So Dalton he wasn't forced. This was a wonderful political decision.
Strategically,
And
it was
Andrea said that
good.
today,
No,
that
but
she doesn't
strategically, it
want
was
to,
good for the
doesn't want to-
Liberals.
Yes.
It was not good for the people of Ontario. That is the point. My
But
partisan.
Laura,
agenda.
you're not
the
that
sad thing with
naive to
this-
suggest
I'm not
that
naive at all.
politicians do what's good for the province of
But
Ontario.
I am in a position to complain about the fact and make sure other people realize
By
that
the
this
time
is
they
all a
come
lot
back,
of
there'll be a new
partisan
leader,
nonsense.
and the narrative won't be on Vaporgate. It'll be on Sandra
Depends on-
Pupatello as our new premier.
And in fact,
And
in fact, let me just throw this out for a quick comment by anybody. Since McGuinty announced his resignation and since prorogation, they have leapt over the NDP in the polls, and they're almost tied with the provincial Tories. How do you explain
Almost,
that?
but not quite. And of course, there's going to be extra interest whenever a party has a leadership going on. You've got new faces. You can't associate them with past faults. So, of course, their numbers are up. But, once the new leader comes into power, we're going to see those numbers plummet once again, Larry.
And I wouldn't say that they left right over, Larry.
But this
It's
is why-
very close.
this is why
The numbers are very close. And
What
I
does
think,
everybody think
too,
about
what's
during the
very
holidays,
sad
right?
about all this is that, McGuinty, his whole legacy was supposed to be the education premier. That's ruined. 115, that's ruined. He will now be remembered as the premier who, left the province in shambles and a complete mess.
I know.
I think it's interesting
he tried
too
he
that
tried to pull in wages and
his
keep
two
them under
darlings,
reins,
his
and he
two
failed.
favorites,
He had
who
to
of
do.
course were Broughton and Bentley. They of course were the sacrificial lambs of the party. that's what you
when
get
say
when
he
you're
did
the
what he had to do,
favorite
you
of
almost make
Mr.
it sound
McGuinty,
like
and
it's noble.
it's sad.
Sorry, Alex, but when you
Last
say he
word.
did what he had to do, you make it sound like it's a noble thing. What he did was not do well enough. Hold on. He didn't do it well enough in his election. He got the Ron Corsini majority government, which was already an indictment of his leadership. So then he was not able to pass what he wanted. He couldn't work well with the other parties because he lacked the leadership at that point. He was rife with scandal. His party put in austerity measures on the backs of the most vulnerable, and he ran and hid from scandal. Now, if you say he did it because he had to, and you say it's a brilliant strategy, good on him for the Liberal Party, but it was bad for Ontario, and it was shameful.
I wouldn't say
No,
that.
I wouldn't say that.
All right, listen, on that
This is why
note.
there's 2 of us and 3 of you.
All right, on that note, and actually all of you have done very, very well. On that note, we're going to sign off and thank our panels from the O Show, Loren and Laura, and from the Opinionators, Alex, Ron, and Tara. And we're going to invite our viewers to join us on Thursday, because as we have deconstructed 2012, we are now going to look ahead on Thursday with the same group at 2013. What's going to happen? Well, you know what? These people are going to tell us. See you then.